We're back on Route 66 in Springfield, Missouri, the Queen City of the Ozarks, which is absolutely packed with old roadside architecture, gas stations, rock auto courts, motels, hotels, cafes, attractions, and every other kind of roadside wonder you can imagine, which of course is highly, highly appropriate because not only is Springfield on old Route 66, Springfield, Missouri is the birthplace of Route 66. It's not the exact center of the road. It's not even where the idea for the road first came together, but right here in downtown Springfield 100 years ago, the old now lost Colonial Hotel, which was right here where we're standing, hosted a very important meeting between various state highway officials and road promoters working on the new federal highway system, specifically a lot of the representatives for the new Chicago to Los Angeles route. They had wanted to be US Highway 60 until Kentucky threw a fit. They wanted their road to be US Highway 60. And so this is where they compromised and came up with and accepted the number 66. Obviously, I'm simplifying this story a lot, but basically, it mostly boiled down to Route 66 just having a nice ring to it. So right here, downtown Springfield, Missouri is the place around 4 p.m. on Friday, April 30th, 1926, 100 years ago. And so right here in downtown Springfield, this is where John T. Woodruff and Cyrus Avery and all those other founders of the road telegrammed their acceptance of the number Route 66. And a legend was born. And look at this, Springfield, Missouri now in 2026 is leaning in hard for the 100th anniversary celebration. They've got one of these epic fun pick ready Centennial shields. They've actually marked the site of that meeting with this, the ghost of the Colonial Hotel sculpture, which at least gives you some sense of where it all went down. There's a new mural here right on the ground, and I'm just focusing on one corner. Look at this giant sculpture of the keys right here, this giant mural up on this building behind it. They have really gone the extra mile on this highway to celebrate the Centennial and also to cement their status as the birthplace of Route 66. But it's not just here in downtown Springfield. Oh no, they are celebrating all across the town. There are banners everywhere, new sculptures everywhere. We're probably gonna see some of them later. But first, among all these other things I have never laid my eyes on in downtown Springfield, all these brand new things. There is a history museum here in downtown Springfield that's never been open when I was here that I'm hoping to pop into. By the way, that meeting where they accepted 66, nobody knows where that actual meeting took place, but the telegram accepting 66 was sent from the Colonial Hotel. I hate to be technical, but you know, I'm a nerd for these things. Right down here in the Central Square in downtown Springfield, the History Museum on the square. First couple of times I did Route 66 end to end, it was actually closed. They were remodeling the place. I think the next couple of times I was just here on hours or days when it wasn't open, but it should be open today with a permanent exhibit about Route 66. And look at this, I love these. They got these statues all over town, or these sculptures, whatever you want to call them, for the Centennial. They got a whole app for it. It's a little trail of them all across town. Some I like, one I hate. This one I love. This one looks pretty cool. But we're not here just for statue gazing. We're here for the History Museum on the square. However, I can't help but mention these statues that are all over downtown Springfield. These weird, sad, sort of androgynous, strange people. There's always like a dark one and a silver one. They're always awkwardly next to each other, but never close. I don't know if you can see that, but look, there's a couple of sad ones over there sitting far apart by the fountain. I don't know what they represent. I'm afraid to find out. They just always make me sort of sad. I don't want to be sad though. I want to go into the old Fox Theater and learn about 100 years of Route 66. It's taken me 10 years and almost my entire family fortune. But I think I'm finally going in this museum. This place is absolutely massive. I can't wait to see everything they've got inside. Holy moly. Dude, this is awesome. By the way, that is the widest train I've ever seen. She said they got 5 floors of museum here. The Route 66 gallery is the largest and is on the 5th floor, and she recommended that that's where we start.
Elevator going up to the birthplace of Route 66 gallery.
Oh, look at this. I don't hate it. Dude, I am already quite pleased with this. Dude, check this out. Do you know what this is? The drive-through window was invented here in Springfield, Missouri at Red's Giant Hamburger. They got a replica of the old neon sign out in a park here in town. The actual menu is in here with a lot of other artifacts from Springfield's Route 66. Look at this though, they've got another replica of the sign in here, and it is all lit up with glorious neon. They got this touchscreen with this epic video filmed at it in 1982. Sadly, the building is lost now, it's a shame. But nothing's ever truly lost if they can recreate it at a museum. Look at this, they've got an old neon sign for the Railhaven Motel in town, which still exists. We'll be going there later. And famously, Elvis Aaron Presley himself, along with his mother Gladys, stayed in the Railhaven. That wasn't his shirt, that's one of his guitar player shirts right there. He also famously played in town right up the street. Dude, this is really well done. I am really enjoying this. Bunch of information about all different parts of the route. I particularly like all the information about the local motels, hotels, gas stations, restaurants. And it wouldn't be Springfield, Missouri and Route 66 without a nod to the Steak and Shake, which has been here since 1962. London ate there last time. Look at this, they've got some of the early original matchbooks. Check this out down here, some of the old ashtrays, some hubcaps. A 1914 automobile blue book. Check out this map of Route 66, starting from where we started from in California at Elmer's Bottle Tree Ranch, and cruising along a lot of the stuff we've seen already over here through New Mexico, through Texas and Oklahoma. Cyrus Avery himself, often called the father of Route 66, and then on down to Springfield over here. And of course, an even larger picture of John T. Woodruff, the Springfield local who built the 4 finest hotels and was a big-time promoter of the road. And there it is. There's a replica of the telegram itself that accepted 66. It says, we prefer 66 to 62. I can see why, dude. Imagine telling people this whole time, like, yeah, we're just doing a Route 62 trip. It just doesn't have the same ring to it. Definitely glad they landed on 66. Execute order Route 66. On the back of the wall, there's a whole Route 66 timeline. I love the use of all the old postcard art along at the top of this wall. Hey, there's Elvis Presley at the shrine over there, the Shrine Mosque. Oh, look at that, there's a picture of the Colonial Hotel right over there on the corner, and it even actually says Postal Telegraph right there. That's the birthplace of Route 66. I know this is weird, but I also appreciate the fact that they have restrooms right up here in this gallery. This is all just really, really, really well done. Even London looks partially impressed. I like this. I like that they got the back of this Chevy Bel Air right here, so you can sit and watch this screen about John T. Woodruff and his dream and Route 66 here in Springfield. I also love that it's actually very Springfield specific and not just like generic Route 66, right? We're traveling Route 66. We know about generic Route 66. All right, we're going to continue on into other galleries now. They got the Legends of the American West over here. Look at this. They got Wild Bill's Navy Colt. What the heck? Wild Bill Hickok's guns? Oh man, they got a lot of information about Wild Bill over here on this wall. I think this thing we're looking at right here is a Wild Bill shootout exhibit. Apparently it's not operating properly at the moment, but when it's fully functional, you can come in here and have a shootout with, well, I don't see any bad guys. I just see a bunch of regular townsfolk. You can shoot him, you can shoot him, you can shoot them horses. There ain't no gun in the holster, but I still got my finger guns. I wasn't expecting this up here today. I've talked about this years ago, but apparently he had a shootout right here in the old town Springfield Square. They call it the first shootout in the Old West. Hard to think of Springfield, Missouri now as the Old West, but at one time it was the Old West. Now it's sort of the Old Middle. This is very well done, this museum, man. A lot of information. You could spend a lot of time in here. Obviously, we are mostly focused on Route 66 today. There's all kinds of information about the Old West and the Civil War. There's this interesting interactive fish pond on the ground that is hurting London's brain. Walk into the water, boy. We're disturbing the fish. Disturb them. Disturb those pond suckers. Actually, pretty freaking fascinating in here. As with every trip, we're on a tight budget, especially of time. I never get as much time to linger at these places as I'd like, which is why lately I've been trying to remind people about the merch store and the Patreon and such like. We'd like to keep Random Land moving around the country as often and as frequently as possible. Often and frequently. Those are kind of the same thing. I don't know what I just did there. Maybe we should get me some brain lessons too. Whoa. Okay, before we get out of here, I just want to know what's in this wide train. Oh, it had to be wide so you could sit in here and look out the windows. I love that. It's like the Harry Potter train at Universal in Florida. That's how it had to be wide. Look at the size of that boiler in there. All right, we're going to head back out under the mean streets of Springfield. Look at that. That ain't no Wigwam Motel. There's a great Native American exhibit downstairs, which covers the Trail of Tears in great detail. And of course, Route 66 travels along the path of the Trail of Tears in Missouri, and the end of the Trail of Tears was in Oklahoma, so kind of an important stop. Recommend browsing this section. We got to make our way out of here, so we're gonna exit through the gift shop, which, by the way, is the first place where I've seen the 100-year Centennial logo as a magnet instead of a giant sticker. We're putting that on the car. Pretty fantastic. Definitely worth a stop, especially because the Route 66 exhibit upstairs. All right, we can now move along on our journey through Springfield. Oh, I forgot about the sad statues. Why are they so far apart? Get closer, guys. Oh, heck yeah, dog. That's what I'm talking about. Well, man, there's a little dent. Some guy threw a rock at my car in Jamestown, California. Wow. Be careful in Gold Country. By the way, in Sonora, California, they're getting my hot sauce up there at the Panagia bookstore, where the books and the vintage VHS are cool, but man, the real main attraction, the dirty sodas, man. You gotta get that 16 candles. All right, cruising east out of downtown past Billiards Sports Bar and Grill, which claims to have the best burger on Route 66, is this. All of those secret organizations do, but I will say about the Shriners, I do like their little miniature cars, and I do support the Shriners Hospitals for Kids. They help a lot of children who are burn victims or have disabilities. So I'm not a Shriner, but I support their work, I guess. Pretty cool looking building, no matter who is running the show in there. I'd like to go inside and see where Elvis played and stand up there, hey mama. Anyway, Elvis has left the building, so we're gonna cruise on past a couple more sad guys. The always closed Route 66 Springfield Visitor Center and the Hammond's Tower. That looks like some kind of evil villain's lair from Gotham City. And we're gonna keep on cruising down old Route 66. And bam, we end up right at the old Route 66 Steak and Shake, which is littered with neon. It's been here since 1962, grinding only government-inspected beef for steak burgers. It is a Route 66 institution. Last time we were here, London got a steak burger and enjoyed a frosty chocolate milkshake. It got a couple more retro locations that look just like this, but this is the one, 1962, right here on old Route 66. And then look at this, as we keep cruising east towards Glenstone down here, it's probably the biggest, baddest change of them all in Springfield for the 100th. Because right next to the historic Rail Haven Hotel, where we've stayed many times and are staying tonight, is something brand new. Dude, look at it. The Stargate, the portal. What in the weird, wild heck? And the Rail Haven is a historic institution. It began in 1938 as one of those little motor courses and expanded into the 1950s. It's right on the side of old Route 66. It's got neon piping around the office, several old automobiles on display out here. But it still keeps its historic charm. Right next to it is a very famous arrow pointing you towards downtown Springfield. If you're coming in from the east, that used to be the first thing you would see out here. The first sign, pun intended, leading you into the birthplace of Route 66, but the main attraction, other than the Elvis Presley suite where Elvis Presley himself stayed at the Rail Haven Motel, was always this, the classic old Rail Haven neon sign, piped with neon tubing and with those moving little motel light bulbs there in the middle. The amount of nights of my life I've come out of the Rail Haven and stood on this little grassy knoll here just staring at that sign, thinking of the old days. Well, the Rail Haven Motel sign no longer stands alone, because Springfield decided they needed an even bigger sign to lead you into the Queen City of the Ozarks. And so right here, right in front of the Rail Haven, they decided to expand the streets, create a little island in the center, and build what is officially known as Queen's Gate 66. Dude, what the heck? All I can think of is Queen's Gate. More like freaking Stargate out here. What the heck is this? Is it a wheel and a white wall tire? Is it the Statue of Liberty's hat? A portal to another dimension? Actually, it looks like a freaking portal to another dimension right now, because there's one of those weird corona rainbow things around the sun. It looks like we've opened a portal to outer space. Do not look to the heavens for signs. The aliens have come to deceive us. What have they done? So weird, because you can now walk right down the center of the Mother Road on a little mock concrete highway into the center of the Queen's Gate, which I suppose is meant to be a giant piece of artwork, but contains other artwork on the inside. All of this lights up at night, and there's a whole bunch of symbols of the Mother Road, a whole bunch of icons of Route 66 on one side, and then on the other side, a whole bunch of Missouri and Springfield specific Route 66 info and art, including that famous telegram right there in the center. Dude, this thing is so freaking weird, and I have to admit to you, when we first pulled up to Springfield last night, my first impression was not good. But as I said, I've stayed here many years. I'm pretty attached to this neighborhood. So I was like, why did they put it right there? For starters, it completely dwarfs the Railhaven Motel neon sign. It's almost like the new Blue Whale Visitor Center, right? Where it's so big that it makes the main thing look so teeny tiny next to it. All I could think of is, why would they choose to do this here? But really, I think what I objected to is one of those Centennial statues they put all over town, or sculptures, or whatever you want to call them, sitting right here in front of this. I hadn't seen the other ones yet, so I was just looking at this particular one and going, why? Why does it look like an old Hobby Lobby sign trying to look old and rusty, and it's placed right here in front of the Railhaven thing? What is this eyesore? And that's no shade on artist Emily Schmidt, who created this particular one. Now that I've seen the other ones and I understand what they're doing, I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. It's a, you know, I get it. I just think the placement right here is very weird. But that was only my first impression. For starters, I started looking at this bench up here and thinking, yeah, you know what? The amount of nights, like I said, I've stood up here on this grassy knoll that had no place to sit, no place to stand, no place to ponder and contemplate. I thought, okay, having a bench there is actually pretty cool. And then last night, even in the middle of the night, car after car after car came cruising by this thing, wave after wave after wave of locals, of tourists. These are all a bunch of foreign tourists standing out here right at this moment. Kept hopping off their motorcycles, hopping out of their cars, standing in front of this thing, taking pictures, walking through it. As you can see, I mean, these people are having the time of their lives. And even though, yes, it's very modern, very futuristic, very sci-fi looking, I did slowly start to kind of get used to seeing it, and the sticker shock started to fade away pretty quickly, especially because I'm thinking, you know what, if it gets people to stop out over here by the Railhaven, and this part of Route 66 is not the greatest neighborhood for most of its run through Springfield, if it brings more tourists out, if it makes them happy, gives them another reason to stop in the neighborhood, to check out the Railhaven and Steak and Shake, and learn more information about the Mother Road, then aesthetics be darned, I approve of this. Okay, look, here's the information sign. Welcome to Queensgate 66, a landmark that honors Springfield's place in the story of America's most famous highway. Inspired by Springfield's identity as the Queen City of the Ozarks, it offers visitors a memorable welcome and a strong connection to the Mother Road's history. And I can't argue with that, because like I said, people just keep pulling over and over and over, driving their motorcycles past, their old classic cars, their modern cars. These waves of people parking at the Railhaven, bringing their kids over here. It's hard to argue with success, and you know what? It works. And as much as the neon at the Railhaven was an attraction, this part of the road needed another attraction that made people stop, and now it's got it. Of course, there's still the issue that it absolutely dwarfs the Railhaven sign, so they either need to build a bigger sign or maybe move this one elsewhere on the property, because it doesn't stand out the way it used to, and we'll see it at night. I'll show you what I mean. And I feel like this thing should not be right there. This thing should probably be right there. No? Am I crazy? Anyway, it's easy to be a backseat driver on these things, right? I don't know why they made these decisions. Like I say, I'm pretty quick to put my personal feelings to the side because, of course, I'm 100% pro anything that helps the Mother Road. To my eye, it looks a little cluttered and crazy right here in the prime photo spot. I mean, just look at all that. But one, what do I know? And two, this is not the only attraction they added out here on Route 66. Because right after you pass the Queen's Gate headed west, they've added something to tickle another one of your senses. Springfield has now got its own musical road, created using those raised grooves that make that wake up noise when you start to veer off the highway. It is not the first nor the only musical road along Route 66, but it is the only one on this part of Route 66. Ah, that guy didn't go for it. And as far as I know, there was never a musical road in Springfield before. And so people are loving it. These grooves, or these patterns right here, are arranged in different lengths, and they're different widths apart, creating different tones as you drive across them with your passenger side tire. And look at this. Let's see if this car gives us a demonstration. Oh, and there he went. It's hard to see what the tune is if you're standing outside of a car, especially just at the beginning of the musical road. Let's go to the middle and see if it sounds any better. Oh, looks like we got someone. Here we go. Okay, that is awesome. You see that? Now it keeps going for quite a while. I guess we weren't quite in the middle. It's playing Part of America the Beautiful in the most American way ever, with some petroleum-based tires on a road. Of course, the only thing I could think of when I came out here last night and saw where they put the musical road is, there are in fact neighbors out here. I wonder what the neighbors think of the musical road. Oh, here comes London. Look at this. London is cruising down. He's doing it he's making the music. And depending on the type of tires or how fast or how slow you drive, it can change the pitch of the notes. You really got to be inside the car to have the full experience. Anyway, I was talking to some of the locals out here. One guy who rides his bike up and down the street, he freaking hates all this stuff because there's all these people who aren't using their turn signals and don't know where to park or pull over. It's humbucking traffic a little bit for him. There was another lady out walking her dog earlier, and I was like, oh, you guys hear the noise? We don't really hear it. We don't really mind it. So apparently the noise isn't too bad in your house, but there are some people who live right on the road. I always have to wonder how they feel. Anyway, look at this thing. This thing stretches all the way down the hill, starting just a little ways past the Queen's Gate. London should be coming back this way in just 1 second. Let's see if we can hitch a ride, flip a U-turn, and hear what it sounds like from inside the car. First, we gotta just make sure we don't run over any of the beautiful pedestrians out here. It is a little hazard-ish, I must say. All right, then we just cruise up, back past the Queen's Gate, and here we go. Let's listen. Started a little slow there, so we pitched it up when we increased our speed, but we did it! And crown thy good with brotherhood. Once again, dude, all these neighboring businesses must hate this. All these cars turning around, they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing, these tourists. See, most people do go pretty slow. I mean, the speed limit's pretty slow through here, so it sounds a little bassy. Sounds a little tuba-esque. You kind of got to go faster than the posted speed limit to make it sound right, which doesn't exactly increase the safety aspect. Okay, here comes a big truck. He got some loud tires. It sounds so funny once they pass you. Dude, there's no way the neighbors can't hear that. This is kind of cool. I don't know what kind of private business is over here. Look at that old fire truck right yonder. Well, anything that brings more visitors to any part of Route 66 is okay in my book. And the musical road seems to be working, so who am I to argue with success? Look at this, a Phillips 66 sign hiding out here, and a Route 66 bunny. There's a bunny right there. A Route 66 bunny. Look at him hopping along. They could use you at the Jackrabbit Trading Post. Well, anyway, all of this has certainly transformed this part of Route 66. That is for sure. Whether that's good or bad, I guess, is totally subjective and up to you. Because, of course, popular does not always mean good, especially if you live right there, right in front of the musical road itself. But you know what? I was thinking when I had kind of my negative first impression out here last night, I was like, do you know what? People who have never been here before aren't going to think about it the way I'm thinking about it. They're just going to enjoy and like and appreciate this thing for what it is out here. After all, and I've thought about this many, many times, because my grandfather and my grandmother on the other side of my family and my great-grandparents all drove Route 66 back in the day when it was just a highway. There was no particular romance to being on Route 66, no particular loyalty to old things on it. In the romanticized heyday of Route 66, it was a road. It was a place to get you from A to B. That was the point. And almost nobody was driving it end to end, right? Back even in the classic days, in the days everybody yearns for. They were using it to get from A to B. They would start in the middle. They would use just a little part of it. It was one road among many roads. It had a cool sounding name. It had its promoters. But it was just a highway. To us, it is a portal, a conduit, not only to another time, but an excuse for the great American road trip. Not only does it teach you about the past in 8 different states along the path, but it's simply the sparker, right? The starter that can fire up your imagination, give you an excuse to see some old, wonderful, weird parts of America, look into a little window of a slice of life of the past, not just for the people operating businesses along the roadside, but what it was like for our parents, grandparents, great-grandparents traveling across country before there were interstate highways. And now that the Mother Road has been around for 100 years, the main street of America itself is quite historic, especially in American terms. And of course, all the roadies for Route 66 have given it the luster of legend, the patina of paradise, rusty paradise, which is why this is actually an appropriate piece of artwork. It's just the placement I'm questioning, which is, I'm sure was not up to the artists themselves. But Route 66 ultimately whatever you make of it, just like Disneyland, right? You could go to Disneyland or Disney World and look at it as just a bunch of big fake buildings. It's a big corporation just taking all my money. Or you could look at it like, wow, look at the artistry and the creativity. Look at the themed environments. I'm going to use my imagination. Look at those pirates. Exact same thing with the Mother Road. You could look at it as an old highway. It's not even all connected anymore. Traveling past a bunch of old, forlorn gas stations and broken down, abandoned looking buildings through what a lot of people would consider flyover states, or you could see it as the mythical road of romance, America's Main Street, the Mother Road, the ultimate legendary American road trip. I think Obi-Wan Kenobi would agree with me when I say it's all about your point of view. So that's what I thought about into the night last night, and from a certain point of view, all these changes right here are awesome. Okay, I gotta show you the sign at night here, because it wouldn't be a trip to the old Railhaven without showing you the old neon sign all lit up at night. In the meantime, I'm gonna go back into room number 307, not Elvis's room, take a little rest. Although we did actually get to see inside the Elvis room, which has like a Cadillac bed and the whole thing, because some lovely ladies who were staying in there last time we were here let us go take a peek while they were checking out. That was pretty cool. It's always been booked up when I come through Springfield, and by the way, hidden on the property back here, sort of in the very back. I love this because the Railhaven has been a Best Western, part of the Best Western chain brand, whatever, for years and years and years before they reverted back to their kind of Route 66 specific branding, right? Their own custom branding. For years, they had huge Best Western signs out along the roads. I can never say Best Western. I always come out as like Best Western, Best Western. I wonder if there's any lady out there named Best Western, and you say Best Western, and she goes, yes, like the Muppet movie, you know? This one right here, this is like from our time, right? This one doesn't impress us, not yet. Maybe it'll impress our grandchildren, but I like this one from either the 60s, maybe from the 70s. Oh no, it says 1965 to 1995 right on the bottom with those old lights up there in the crown. That is pretty cool. I have no particular love for Best Western because I've been too many that were just really crummy, but that's the thing. Some of them are super, super nice. You're getting a bargain staying at them, so it's hard to tell with one of those. And I'm not trying to slam Best Western for their shaky standards or their lack of consistency, at least in the past 10 years or so, but I will compliment whoever the owners of the Railhaven are for going back to sort of that historic branding and putting the Railhaven first, the Best Western last. It's a much less significant part of the brand. Anyway, I don't know why I'm droning on and on and on and on. Like I say, the daytime Railhaven is cool. It's all right, it's historic, but really, it's a much better sight at night. So I'll see you guys in a little while. I'm gonna take a little rest and edit some of this video. All right, finally, the night is old. You notice everybody always says the night is young. No one ever says the night is old. Anyways, the night is old and the neon is lit. We'll get to the gateway in a second, but look at this at the Railhaven. This is why I love this. The offit is all lit by neon green piping, that classic old Springfield this way. Neon sign is all lit up, pointing the way these days right through that portal over there, right through the Stargate. Look at this place. It's absolutely fantastic. If there's one thing that we noticed on this trip for the Centennial, especially in Oklahoma, it's that the message has finally been received all along the route that more neon is better. It's just something that LEDs cannot replicate. It's just something about the vibe of it, the glow, the way it reflects off vintage cars. It's just so epic and fun. That's why I've always loved staying at this place, because you have the office, the big lit up arrow, and then you have this thing, the Railhaven sign itself, glowing in the dark with those dancing light bulbs and the word motel. Of course, now backlit by the brightest floodlights ever out here. Seriously, they're insane. And then there's this thing. You see what I'm saying? It's just something about that just doesn't fit right here. I don't know why they didn't stick that next to the bench, but I digress. I complain too much. So we went from the beautiful soft glow of neon and those incandescent bulbs in there, a little changed and lit up by all these LEDs and the old lamps and the giant floodlights up there. That's okay. And then there's this. It's just so different. You can see why last night when we rolled in after dark, coming from the wilds of Oklahoma, I was like, what is this? This is cool though. This reminds me of like Epic Universe at Universal Florida or something. See how the inside lights up? I do think that is very, very cool. You have all these cool metal symbols of the road that should last for a long time. Then I love the stars over the top. That is neat. But I think now you can see what I'm saying in terms of it absolutely dwarfing the Railhaven Motel sign over there. It used to be the big shining beacon on this part of the route, and now this thing has totally overtaken it, which is also lit up by this big super bright street light over here, but look at this. It is like 10 o'clock at night, and there are still groups of people pulling over to the side of the road, getting out of their cars to check it out. And so as soon as I'm like, oh man, it still looks kind of weird and funky, it's thrown off the glory of the old sign. Got to stop and remind myself, like, no, but look, see, it's working. It's bringing people out here, even in the middle of the night, to enjoy, to be part of Route 66. Having more tourists out here and people makes the neighborhood feel cleaner, safer, more fun. Cars keep coming by and cruising down the musical road, so we have a little patriotism going on. The minivan didn't go for the musical road. I was hoping he'd blare out a little America the Beautiful there. But it works. It's changed the landscape here on this part of Route 66. Now, of course, on the this is the east side of the city. On the opposite side, on the west side, was the Rockwood Motor Court that we visited earlier today. So we had a lot of fun with Phyllis and Tim, who owned the Rockwood last time we were here. We wanted to leave them that little present. They were around when we stopped by earlier, or maybe they were enjoying their couple of hours off. But we've now left them Pedro, the Mandalorian burro from Oatman, out there at the Rockwood. Somebody did it. Somebody's doing it. So if you're in Springfield, Missouri, besides coming here to the Queens Gate 66, make sure you stop by the Rockwood and tell Phyllis we said hello, and let her know what the burro's name is, because I don't know if she'll ever end up seeing this. Anyway, things change. That's what they do. That's what makes going down Route 66 every other year or so so fun, is to see what's changed. And most of the time the change is sad, like all the things that have fallen apart, the things that are no longer there. Now at least we're looking at a whole bunch of things that have been added, new museums open, new exhibits, new banners, new enthusiasm. It's Route 66's 100th birthday, America's 250th, and we all keep evolving and changing, and one day we'll all be gone and we will just be a memory, like Cyrus Avery or Thomas Woodruff. Someday our grandkids will be out here like, my grandpappy took a picture with the Queens Gate 66, the oldest thing on the route. Well, my friends, if you want to help us continue these adventures all across America and sometimes beyond, you can go over to the Patreon and join that. We really depend on viewers like you. Seriously. You can buy the best hot sauce ever, or get yourself a sick Random Land hat or a signed copy of my book and some other stuff, some car magnets and things over at randomland.com. I think we have some Route 66 keychains right now. I appreciate you watching this episode, this whole series. We have playlists with other Route 66 series from the past, so you can compare the road to what it looked like a couple of years ago, and even back 10 years ago, when none of this was but a twinkle in whoever built its eye. But for tonight, that's it. London and I have got to get to Chicago, because after that I've got to get myself out to Oregon and continue these Random Land adventures. For now, we've done our duty. It's time to motel and sleep well. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Good night. Look at this, there's a kid, like 10 years old right there, out there with his mom. He just lost his mind when he saw that neon sign. See, it works. Bringing out the next generation, the future generation. Who knows, maybe that kid will grow up one day and own someplace like the Railhaven or an old Rockwood Motor Court and restore it, or, you know, you just never know. Good night. Oh my gosh, it's Bucky. It's the Beeve! Look at Bucky, and he's wearing a little patriotic shirt. It's freaking Bucky! I'm starstruck. I dare not approach the presence, even though I've already met Bucky before. I just can't handle it. Double Bucky! Look, he's got a Chuck E. Cheese shirt on. Bucky and Chucky! Imagine Bucky and Chucky together. The stories they'd tell. Dude, America's friend. Bucky. We did it! We just took a fun pic with the Buckster. Oh, Bucky, look at him. He's so excited. Dude, look at this. This isn't a beaver dam. This is a beehive. Dude, I've only ever seen Bucky one other time. I've never seen Bucky go outside before. This is the best day ever. Let's see if this person gives us a demonstration. No! No! And let's see if this person gives us a demonstration. Come on, get on the musical road. Nobody's doing the musical road. Look at this burro. We brought this burro from Oatman. We were going to leave it at the Blue Swallow, but we forgot. So this is the next best place. We're going to leave him here with Phyllis at the Rockwood Auto Court. His name is Pedro. We named him after Pedro Pascal because he just has that gray Mandalorian look to him. And here he is. Come say hi to Pedro at the Rockwood Motor Court.